Today we're going to be talking about chain of custody and the process for blood testing. This is regularly used for DUIs in Michigan when there's a blood draw for alcohol or drugs. Hi, I'm Muthu Veerappan. I'm a criminal defense and civil litigation attorney here in Detroit, Michigan, and I help people fight for their freedom and protect their future. Today's video is building off my previous discussion about the chain of custody for blood testing. So without further ado, hi everyone, today we're at Axion Labs. We're going to be working with the auto-diluter. Through the auto-diluter we have propanol going, and then we have our blood samples. This isn't the client's blood, I'm going to leave that up to the government. What this is actually red food coloring and water, but for the purposes of the video we're going to treat it like blood. So in a DUI or OWI situation, when you have a blood draw after chain of custody is reviewed, this would be the process that happens in the lab. So we're going to go ahead and take our blood. Now these gray top tubes are normally what are used in hospitals. They contain an anticoagulant as well as anti-glycolic agent that prevents rotting and clotting during transport. So right here we run the propanol through. It's operated by a foot pedal. And you can see it coming through right there. We want to make sure that's nice and clean prior to this. Let me grab a fresh vial. Okay, so now we have our blood that we grabbed from the vial. So we're going to put it right up next to the auto-diluter. And you see how it kind of pulls the blood into there. We're going to grab a fresh vial, and it's going to run propanol right outside that. So what's going to happen is we're going to conduct what's called headspace analysis. So there's a certain percentage of ethanol in the blood. We're going to measure the vapor above the sample, and that's going to tell us exactly how much ethanol was in the blood, specifically how much the defendant or our client in this case consumed. So after that point we have to make sure that it's vacuum sealed. So I'm going to go right here, just a crimper. I wanted to touch on a few important points from that video. First, if the caps aren't crimped properly or it's a bad batch of caps, then you'll see a lot of variability in the peaks on the chromatogram. If you watch my previous videos, then you know that the chromatograph is the instrument used to produce the chromatogram. That's the chart displaying the data. When the gas inside the capsules begin leaking, it makes it look like there's a higher concentration of drugs or ethanol. Second, we're going to talk about the process that the police use to draw blood. In the jail, the officer should only have one blood testing kit out at a time. They'll have a pouch that has multiple kits in it because they're on duty for 8 hours. So the kit gets opened and the officer takes out the blood tube. The cap goes off and the tube gets placed in a holder. They pull a syringe, draw the blood, take the needle off, and squirt the blood into the blood tube. The officer puts a cap on and closes a tube. Then he rotates it so that the drug, which is the anticoagulant and the anti-glycogen, mixes with the blood. Remember, that stops rotting and clotting. After the tube is placed in the envelope, the officer puts a seal on it and writes custody information about when the blood was drawn. This blood tube is then put inside a 12-volt cooler. That cooler gets plugged into a police car. It stays in there for a matter of hours until it goes to the forensic lab. At the forensic lab, they'll have a refrigerator with a slot cut into it. The officer can then drop off the envelope containing the evidence through the slot. In that same room, there's going to be a barcode scanner. That barcode scanner will match the deposit to the envelope. Now, this is the beginning of the limb system, also known as the digital chain of custody, which will show that the blood tube came in at that time. All of the processes and testing you saw me do in Axion Labs will be time-stamped on the limb system. You need an attorney who's familiar with blood and drug testing. Otherwise, you could be led into a bad plea deal and this entire process can seem overwhelming. The good news is we're ready to help you. We're open 24/7 and I'll give you a free consultation. You'll sit with me and we'll review your case and see what options you have available.
This video is not legal advice and should not be relied on for legal advice. Be sure to consult with an experienced attorney whenever you have legal issues.